Hey, welcome to my photography studio, and we're gonna do a photography tutorial today on how to make your photos a little bit more interesting. So we're just gonna use one subject matter, which is gonna be some of these cups. I might not use all of them. I might only use one, but we're gonna try to figure out how to make a good, interesting photo out of one subject matter. And so we're just gonna experiment around and see how it goes. Okay, now that you can see that we have a very basic setup of the studio, we're gonna take a very basic picture of this glass with some water in it. And I know that many of you may not have all this equipment in your house, but I guarantee that you have some household items that you can use to make this studio like this. And I used to do it before I had this studio. And you can read more about it in my blog where you can learn how to make a homemade studio. So there's our very basic picture. And as you can tell, it's really not very interesting. So let's figure out ways that we can make this a little bit more interesting. Let's first talk about composure. So when we look at this photo, we see that the glass is very centered. The table line is it's a little bit lower than center. But everything seems very centered. In photography, we want to make things not so much centered, but more of over to the side, or if you've ever heard of the rule of thirds, you can follow those third lines. Which you can read more about in my blog as well. So let's try to make just a little adjustment first and see what a different composure can do by putting it a little bit off to the side. Okay, that changed it up quite a bit. I think that actually looks a lot better, even though it's not super different. It's a little more aesthetically pleasing because it's off to the side. The table line isn't quite as high up in the frame. So let's try that a few more times, moving in 3 different directions. Okay, now what if we tried lowering our f-stop maybe so that the table line doesn't look so firm in the picture. Maybe do what we've already learned a little bit and keep it off to the side. Oh wow, I like that a lot better. Now it looks just more like black in the background instead of there being a defined table. Now what if we try a different angle? So we're doing portrait mode instead of landscape. That makes it a little bit more interesting too. So now, what if we don't take a picture straight on, but maybe stand up and take it from a different angle? Still using those same things we've already talked about. A little bit off to the side. I don't like that one as much. I don't think it's quite as interesting looking at it from here. What if we take a picture right on top of this thing? That's actually pretty cool. So for this picture, I did straight down just to see what that would look like. So for any type of photography, you're just going to want to take a lot of photos and practice a ton. The more you practice, the more photos you take, the better you'll get. As well as sometimes I take 1,000 photos and I only get 20 good ones out of it. So if you take a lot of photos, you're guaranteed to have some that are really good. Okay, now let's talk about maybe the background. So right now we have a black background, it's completely blank. So maybe we want to add maybe some more cups to the background. And so that might give it a little bit of a different feel. So let's just put these cups back here. And maybe this one's the only one that has some water in it. This this might make it a little bit of interesting. So the higher your f-stop, the more visible those glasses in the back will be. The lower your f-stop, the more blurred they will be in the background. Okay, for my next idea, I went and grabbed a stool because I was really liking those photos from above. But I'm going to change this up a little bit. I'm going to move this one here. I'm going to move these glasses like lying down all around it. So you just got to get creative to make your photos look a little bit more interesting and have a little bit more appeal to them. But I believe that you can make almost anything look super interesting. That looks super cool. Okay, maybe we stand these back up and just put them all like right next to the glass. These also look super cool, super interesting. And if you want to get crazy, you could do like water pouring into the glass and use a fast shutter speed or a slow shutter speed to show the motion in the picture. There's so many different ways we can make interesting photos just out of simple things in our house. We can make interesting photos out of the same thing that was kind of boring. So I hope you learned something. I hope you can take something away from this, and I hope you enjoyed the video along with the vlog that has some more in-depth techniques and other things like that. So I really hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.